So, Matt, congratulations, of course, on Soundgarden getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But you are not a first timer. You are part of an elite group.
Yeah, this is true. I certainly am.
So, obviously, you got in with Pearl Jam in 2017, I believe. And I was looking. I have a list here. I was looking. So here, you join an elite group that includes Ozzy Osbourne, the late Ozzy Osbourne, who got in, I believe, last year. Stevie Nicks, Jimmy Page, Tina Turner, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Paul Simon, Lou Reed, Michael Jackson, actually Dave Grohl from because he's in with Nirvana and the Foo Fighters. All
Right.
four members of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and all four Beatles, and you.
Wow. I have to pinch myself. That's an elite group. Uh I'm just huge fans of everyone you just mentioned there. So it's an incredible honor that's not lost upon me.
So you're an old pro at this. Like I said, you got in with Pearl Jam. And Pearl Jam, from what I remember, got in on their very first nomination,
Right.
very first year of eligibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Same with Nirvana. And of course, a lot of people when they talk about the Seattle scene in the 90s, they think those two bands and Soundgarden kind of in the same breath. But with Soundgarden, took three times, third time was the charm. And I'm wondering if you have
Yeah.
any theory as to why it did not happen the other two times. And I don't think they were nominated. I think it took a while for them even to get nominated as well.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really have a theory about that other than maybe we just weren't as you know, popular, I guess, as the other two grunge bands of our generation. But we were certainly honored to be to be considered as one of the bands to be nominated. And I felt like it was just nice to be sort of mentioned in that world. But now that it's happening, it feels great. Yeah, I'm very honored to be in this position.
So it's interesting that you used the term grunge before I said it because I was wary of saying that because
G word.
you said the G word because I guess I would have assumed you don't like that word or that no one in Soundgarden likes that word or no one in Pearl Jam likes that word. But so yeah, I guess I'll just ask since you voluntarily used the word with no coercion, how do you feel about that term?
Well, I think it's sort of a catch-all for the bands that were, from the Pacific Northwest, and I think it's a, easily digestible sort of genre that, that the music audience can latch onto. So yeah, I mean, at the time when all these bands were starting, we didn't label it anything other than I guess alternative rock or post-punk or things like that. There's always going to be a term that tries to group all these different types of bands together at any given time. And we were all fortunate to have come from a region in the States and a time in the US and Western Europe where there was a lot of real creative rock bands, a lot of unique songwriters, musicians, etc. So yeah, I personally don't mind it as much as the other guys do.
Oh, okay. Well, you mean your bandmates in Soundgarden?
Oh well, just my friends here in the Northwest music community. I think initially, like some guys were reacting to it when we were all getting noticed in the early 90s and late 80s. But personally, not. I never really thought twice about it. I don't really care.
So, I mean, I guess one of the reasons why people would maybe in the scene wouldn't have liked that word is because none of those bands that I just mentioned, the kind of three, the trifecta, the holy trio of those three bands, sounded very much alike. I mean, there might have been some common ground, but they sounded like three very different bands. Nirvana, I'm talking about Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden. But I would
Yeah.
say of all the bands of that era, and especially of those three bands, I feel this is why it's important and great that Soundgarden are getting into the hall. I feel, and I'm not the only person who said that Soundgarden kind of bridged I guess what we actually called in the 90s college rock, what they called in
Yeah.
the late 80s college rock.
Yeah.
They bridged that and the metal world the best. Like I think there was a bigger Venn diagram between those two scenes because people were very tribal then. They were like, I'm a punk,
Yeah.
I'm a metal person, I'm a
Totally.
this. But I
Totally.
feel Soundgarden had a more of a broad Venn diagram appeal than a lot of your peers or a lot of alternative call bands in the day. Do you feel that? And it was, if so, was that something you kind of set out to do?
No, I mean, we didn't set out to fit anywhere particularly. But you're right that college radio had a really big role in our um, audience getting bigger in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. Um, and yeah, there were a lot of groups at that time that were being promoted by college radio. Our station here in Seattle, it was KCMU at the time. It's now KEXP, but
Mhm.
there was a lot of college towns, that were very supportive early on, and it enabled us to go on tour, play nationally and internationally. So at that time, yeah, there was more of a grassroots kind of audience that was gathering around college radio because we weren't really on mainstream radio at that time. Eventually it all sort of turned around when 1991 happened and Nevermind blew up. But before that, yeah, it was basically all, college radio, mailing lists, cassette compilations, a lot of
Cause singles,
singles,
those were a thing.
a lot of stapling posters onto telephone poles, things like that. But yeah, as far as like the metal thing, yeah, I mean, Chris definitely had sort of a voice and an approach to music that fit that world really, really great. But we didn't necessarily pursue that style of music as artists and songwriters. But fortunately for us, a lot of the metal bands that we met early on, like Metallica, they were real big supporters early on. And like a lot of the dudes in the Bay Area scene, you know, Testament, all those guys, uh, and then eventually we hooked up with Faith No More. And so yeah, there was a lot of cross-pollination with with some, some of the metal scenes around the States and some of the Seattle bands early on. But yeah, I guess, for us, it was a pretty easy transition into the metal world when we first started.
But I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, I've read because you tour with some like very mainstream rock bands, like you tour with Guns N' Roses, you tour with
Yeah,
Skid Row. I read that. I was,
we did.
which I
We
would have totally been there because I love Sebastian Bach's with, along with Chris Cornell, like, Sebastian Bach, amazing rock singer. But
yeah, he was great.
I've read that like maybe some people in the Seattle scene or whatever sort of shun you or looked down on the fact that you were touring with I guess some people might have called hair bands or whatever.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I didn't personally pay attention to any of that stuff, but yeah, at the time we toured with Guns N' Roses in '92, I guess it was. And then right after that, we got an offer to play with Skid Row, and we weren't really like on the radio or anything. So I think we were just slowly building our following through touring and playing live. And I personally felt like that was always our strong point. So we
Mhm.
didn't really say no all that much in the early days, just because it was a good opportunity to get out there and build our audience.
So obviously we were talking about Chris. I see the photo behind you, and it's going to be obviously a bittersweet night on November 8th because
Yeah.
of the fact that Chris can't be there to celebrate. But did these kind of things matter to him? Some people like really care about awards and accolades from the peers, and then there's a lot of people who are like, screw the hall, who cares? These things don't matter. Like, did this kind of stuff matter to him? How would he feel about being inducted?
Well, I think in the early days it probably didn't really matter to him or much or us as much. But we got nominated for a Grammy in like 1989 for our Ultra Mega OK. record. And so I think it was really nice just to get recognition from the industry, in any way, shape, or form. I always personally felt like it was a nice it was a nice acknowledgement for, what we were doing. In terms of what Chris might have liked, I think as he got older, he really was open to acceptance by the music industry, by um, different established entities like the Hall of Fame or the Grammys, things like that. And I I personally think that he would have been extremely proud to have seen this occur. So we are very honored to, take part in this event and to honor Chris's legacy in Soundgarden and just his legacy as an artist, as a one of a kind musician, frontman, um, and hopefully he'll be recognized as a solo artist by the Hall or just uh, other entities as well because his influence is massive and his artistry was completely unique. So in that sense, I'm sure he would have appreciated the acknowledgement.
So, yes, I agree with everything you just said, and I'm very much looking forward to how he's going to be honored that night. Like I said, you've been at the hall before, but this will be a very different experience, and presumably a more bittersweet one. How are you thinking? I mean, obviously, you're going to perform. Are you going to perform? I assume you're going to perform, right?
Yeah, we're gonna perform. Yes.
Who have you thought, or are you able to divulge, or are you considering who's going to sing with
Yeah,
you
I mean,
guys?
we've got everything wrapped up. I'm not really sure if I can say anything yet, so sorry.
Okay, that's okay. What about in terms of have you thought about who might induct you as a speech? I kind of thought maybe since Chris inducted Hart years ago that the favor would be returned. The Wilson sisters
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah, we would love to have Ann on board. I think they have tour commitments, and we've put in a list of people that we wanted to have induct us, and we're sort of coordinating that with the hall right now. So we haven't.
Can you at least give me a few names?
Um, well, I think I should probably wait on that as well until I get the final word from the hall. I don't want
Fair
to
enough.
lift anyone's hopes and have it not happen.
I understand,
I mean,
but
it's not really up to me. If it was, I'd divulge everything.
well, it's interesting. Many years ago, I guess it was on 2018. I interviewed Lowell Tolhurst from The Cure right when The Cure had announced to be inducted, and I asked him who his first choice would be, and he said Trent Reznor, and that ended up happening. So
Oh, nice.
I hope whoever I like to feel I put it out in the universe, but I understand, that you need to keep these things wrapped. In
Yeah, well,
general,
Trent was definitely on my list, but I think he's got tour commitments.
yeah, I mean, there's obviously no end of people, I think, from previous generations, your peers, and the newer school who'd line
Well,
up to do it.
yeah, I mean the first on my list was Jimmy Page, but he can't travel at the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean our list was definitely like our top, like Tony Iommi or Jimmy Page, one of those guys.
Okay.
But they unfortunately can't make it. So we're still trying to figure all that stuff out.
Like I said, I'm sure lots of people will line up. It's interesting that you mentioned those names because those are your predecessors, and a lot of times they get like some young new person, like I don't know, I'm making this up, like young blood or like some new, Harry
Yeah,
Styles did Stevie
right,
Nicks, for
right.
instance. They get like someone who's like sort of been influenced as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, yeah, I mean, we love working with Taylor Momsen. She's been a great addition to our family. Brandy Carlisle's been amazing. Um, and yeah, so it's really nice. Yeah, the Youngblood, that dude I just sort of became familiar with at the Ozzy concert. And
yeah.
so yeah, it's really nice to see, all these sort of younger musicians that are carrying the torch, man. I love it.
So even though you can't divulge things like that, I can let the record show I tried. But it's just in general because it's going to be such an emotional night with the fact that, that Chris is not there and there'll be other people, standing in for him vocally and stuff. Have you given any thought to, you know, the set list, the speech you'll get? I assume all of you, I don't know if all of you are going to speak or if one person's going to speak, but like, what are you envisioning and how you're going to make this a special tribute?
Well, we definitely have a plan afoot. We're, like I said, we're trying to coordinate that with the hall right now in terms of our performance. Um, but we're going to hopefully just honor him in the most honest, heartfelt way possible. We're going to have Hero with us as well, which will be a nice addition.
Oh, cool.
And he had a really strong connection with Chris, when Chris first started to play in bands and things like that. So we're going to have a lot of our um, family and community that we started out with. A lot of Chris's family will be there, my family, everyone's family. So we're going to try to incorporate that into the ceremony, into our acceptance speech, etc. So yeah, so we're just hoping we can honor him in the best way possible.
How many times have you all performed together since 2017? I know there's Nude Dragons. I know there are things you've done kind of
Yeah.
under
Oh,
pseudonyms, but
oh,
you haven't performed together that many times, have you?
no, no. We only did the concert in 2018, and then we did the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert, and then yeah, only like 3 or 4 times, handful of times. So yeah, we haven't really gotten together that much, other than finishing the last Soundgarden album. Yeah, no real live performances.
I definitely wanted to ask you about that because, we don't need to get into all the legal stuff, that's out there in the news. And I'm not a lawyer, so, I wouldn't necessarily even know what questions to ask about that. But my understanding is that's been resolved, which means that the new recordings can, or whatever, the album you've been working on can come out or is going to come out soon. I've read some reports I've read reports this year, like back in May, that it
Yeah.
was happening. What can you tell me about that?
Well, we are in the process of finishing it. We don't have a release date yet, but I'd say we're about, I don't know, maybe like 70% finished with all the tracking and stuff. So, yeah, it sounds killer. It's been a really amazing and bittersweet process as well. Yeah, so we are hard at work at completing that album.
So when was it recorded, or when was the bulk of it record? With Chris, I mean, when was it? What year?
Well, gosh, we started songwriting together, trading demos back and forth around like 2015, 16, something like that. And then we had some sessions in like 2017 before we went out on tour, just like rough rehearsal. We recorded some rehearsals. But we also we are using the vocals that we're using are from the demos that we all recorded together, and so we're just sort of like building our tracks around those vocal parts. But yeah, it sounds killer, and we're really excited to finish it.
That must be emotional and bittersweet to hear that voice and to hear those tracks.
It really is. It really is. But I think we're trying to stay focused on the overall sound of it, and the you know the and all the reasons for us doing it. But yeah, it's been tough to solo up that voice and hear him uh loud and clear. So but I think the fans will like it, and it's going to be a really nice way to you know finish the creative chapter in Soundgarden.
It's interesting and maybe kismet that that's all finally coming to happen the same year that you're getting this haul. honor. Is there a chance that any new music will be out before November 8th? Will any of it be played at the ceremony, or will there be a
Um,
single
I,
out?
yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything played at the ceremony, and I think the idea is that we want to wait until everything's finished, and then we'll start putting out singles. So unfortunately, we don't have a real strict timeline for that just yet, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
There actually is a song that Ben posted on social media earlier this year. I guess that was sort of got the excitement going that this album. By the way, does the album have a title yet?
It does not.
Okay. Well, when this album is coming out, and he mentioned a song, "The Road Less Traveled," which I believe you co-wrote.
I did, yeah.
So can you tell me about that song? Because he specifically mentioned that, like, unarchiving that song.
Yeah, well, it I wrote this music that I didn't really know if it would fit for Soundgarden, but I just sent Chris all these musical ideas around 2016 or so, 16, 15. And that's one that he really liked. He made an arrangement from my demo and then he added vocals to it. And it came out really, really good. The lyrics are mesmerizing as always. But yeah, that's going to be a really great one for people to hear. It has all the trademark elements that Soundgarden fans might be familiar with, as well as a new little bit of new territory. And there's a two or three other songs that do sound like the band, but I think we were able to sort of stretch out a little bit creatively, and hopefully, when people hear that song, they'll notice that as well. But yeah, I guess it's hard rock, it's sort of bluesy, sort of psychedelic, sort of folky. I guess all the things that we were known for. So I hope people like that one when they finally do hear it.
It sounds awesome. So again, I don't want to ask about the legal stuff, but everything with Vicky is okay because you mentioned the family will be at the hall.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a cool. It's not gonna be there's not gonna be animosity or tension. It's gonna be like a cool family celebration, right? With
Well,
everyone.
I certainly hope so. We're open to everyone coming together and hopefully putting all that stuff behind us and carrying on with positive force for the future.
Last question I'll ask. I have a feeling you're not going to tell me the answer, but I gotta ask. Um, Chris's daughter, who, is such a great singer herself, do you think she'll be involved in the performances as well? At the hall, I mean.
Well, I'm not sure about performing, but we would certainly like to have the kids up there on stage with us, in some degree. We're trying to figure all that stuff out now. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to include all those kiddos in this environment in whatever way they feel comfortable.
So just going back to just how this honor, does it feel vindicated at all? Because obviously Soundgarden always had immense respect, but you did allude a little while back about how maybe you weren't as successful as Nirvana and Pearl Jam specifically. And I remember speaking of people doing tributes, that January 2019 forum thing, the people that showed up, and also just the diversity of people like, Miley Cyrus was the star of that night. Like no one expected she could sing like that. That
Yeah.
kind, I just think that if anything, just illustrated the universal appeal of your music and of Temple of the Dog's music. Actually, you should do not that I'm telling you what to do, but it would be very full circle for you if you did some Temple of the Dog it would bridge your two worlds if you did
Oh,
that at the ceremony.
that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
But my
I think
question is, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, we're gonna keep it we're gonna keep it Soundgarden centric. Maybe if Temple of the Dog gets in there, we'll do so. We'll
Oh
do
my
some
God. Yeah, then
amazing.
you'd be in
Yeah,
three times.
yeah. The concert really was a nice reminder of Chris's influence with a lot of different genres in rock music, pop music. I mean, there's also been incredible jazz versions of Black Hole Sun that I've heard over the years. That are just so poignant and meaningful and really illustrate what a great songwriter Chris was, and his melodies, his lyrics. They really bridged a lot of genres. And so yeah, it was really nice to see all those people come together for that concert. You know, Chris Stapleton, Adam Levine, like you said, Miley Cyrus, Brandy, Peter Frampton, Wayne Kramer, you know, it was amazing. Yeah. So it's always it's just kind of mind-blowing to think that this little band that you started in, a living room or a basement somewhere playing local clubs could morph into this you know, phenomenon that had, a reach outside of its own
Yeah.
create.
Since we're talking about real quick, Black Hole Sun covers, are you familiar with the Moog Cookbooks version?
Uh, is that the yacht rock guy?
It's like the space helmet robots. It was like Roger Manning from Jellyfish. They did like kind of like
Oh, no, I'm
who
sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, they did. I did hear that one. It was amazing. It
yeah.
was amazing.
I used to work with them. They're out of frame, but I have two of their helmets over there. So
Oh, nice.
I always thought, yeah, it even translated to that, to like soft,
Yeah.
like music, elevator music. But to what you were saying about going from the living room to the hall,
Yeah.
it's a great story, very deserving. I want to congratulate you for that. Before I let you go, is there anything you can tell me about other things on the Soundgarden horizon? I assume we're not getting the album this year, but are we thinking maybe next year? And also, I don't imagine you tour for it because I don't know how you would do that, but would be that
Yeah. Yeah, playing live, I don't really know if we've even bridged that gap yet, but we're just trying to finish the album. Like, yeah, it'll probably be next year. I sure hope so. I mean, Kim is working on his parts feverishly, and he really wants to make sure his guitar parts are exactly the way he wants them to be. So that's kind of where it's at right now. But we've got a big portion of it completed, so it's just a matter of putting those finishing touches on it and mixing it, and away we go.
away we go. Well, I'm very excited for that. I'm excited for the hall. I will be there. Perhaps I will see you there. I'm going to
Okay.
leave you with one last question because this is a fun question I like to ask anyone who is getting inducted. Once you are inductee, well, actually, you already are inductee, but as you know, then once you are an inductee, you get to vote. So, in future for
Yes,
future classes.
I have been voting.
So who would you like who isn't in yet to get in? Who's on your wish list of future inductees?
Oh man, well, Clyde Stubblefield, because I know that they're inducting musicians that have made a big impact. Um, is Sly and the Family Stone in there?
I believe they are.
Okay, okay, I got to make sure Sly's in there. Um, uh, Al. I mean, just the greats like Al Green. I guess I don't know if he's considered
I'm pretty
rock.
sure. I think Al Green's
Okay,
in. I wish I
okay.
had like the Wikipedia up right now. If he's not in, that's a crime. But there
Well,
are a lot of people you'd expect to be in, and they're not.
I know Oasis was on the last ballot and they didn't get in, so I definitely vote for Oasis again, just by kind of what they're doing right now is just so inspiring. They're
Yeah.
probably the most inspiring rock band out there right now. But just like I just want to like make sure all my heroes are in there, like Grand Funk and uh, Sly and yeah, but I'd say Clyde Stubblefield. I'd want to see him in there.
Very cool. And I think Oasis, if they get nominated again, given how huge this tour was, I don't know anyone who didn't go. Like every
Yeah.
person, I've never seen more bucket hats in my life. Um, if they get nominated again in light of that, I think they're gonna get in this time.
I
So
sure hope so.
cool. But in the meantime, congratulations on your second induction. I'll
Thank
root
you.
for the Temple of the Dog induction so you can be a three-timer. I don't know if there are any three-timers. You could be maybe I have to check that. But in the meantime, you're in an elite class and it's very deserved.
I really appreciate it, and I'm honored.
All right, cool. Well, it was an honor to chat with you, and I will see you at the ceremony on November 8th in LA.
Okay. I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.